What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Uncomical TV. It's your boy, Neek. If you're here for the first time or even if you're returning, appreciate y'all coming back. If you're here for the first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button, tap in with the channel. Appreciate y'all coming through. And today in this video, I'm going to give you 5 fantasy players that you need to draft. 5 fantasy players you need to draft this year that'll help you win your league. 5 players. I hope that even if you already had your draft, that you drafted maybe 1 or 2 or a couple of these players. But these are 5 players you need to draft in fantasy that'll help you win your league. Number 1, Tank Dell, wide receiver for the Houston Texans. So Tank Dell, he's going to be a part of a top 5 passing offense with C.J. Stroud. You know, I think that the Texans are going to be one of the top offenses in the league. And even going to last year, he got off to a blazing start. And I know that the receiving core with the Texans may be a little scary from a fantasy perspective. Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, and with Dell. But last season, when both Nico Collins and Tank Dell played, Dell outscored him in PPR. And I just think that with Tank Dell returning, do not be surprised if he ends up the number 1 receiver for the Texans. Don't be surprised if he leads the Texans in targets, receptions, and touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised. I know Nico Collins is a great player. I know that Stephon Diggs, is a great player, but don't be surprised if Tank Dell comes out of that situation as the number 1 receiver. So Tank Dell, that's the first player I believe you should draft if you want to win your fantasy league. Number 2, George Pickens, wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it don't get no clearer than he is clearly the number 1 receiver on the Pittsburgh Steelers with Deontay Johnson gone. He's clearly the number 1 option. He's the best option, the best pass-catching option on the Steelers right now. There's nobody else that's particularly close. So in 4 games without Deontay Johnson last year, he went for 4 catches, 177 yards and a TD on 10 targets. He went for 4 catches, 75 yards on 6 targets, 3 for 25 on 7 targets, 6 for 130 and a touchdown on 10 targets. George Pickens has potentially league-winning upside. Like, he's going to get force-fed so many targets because there's nobody else there. Now, Van Jefferson is potentially the wide receiver 2. They drafted Roman Wilson from Michigan, but he got hurt during the offseason. So I think by far George Pickens, ironically, is one of the few wide receivers ones on a team that's clearly the top target on his team. So if you want to win your league, draft George Pickens. Number 3, Isaiah Pacheco. So Pacheco last year was 7th in red zone touches. He had the 10th highest PFF rushing grade. And from weeks 4 to 18 last season, he played 65% of the snaps. And if he was to stay in that range, he'd be on pace for over 300 touches. So Isaiah Pacheco is a guy that's clearly going to be the top option in the backfield for the Chiefs with Clyde Edwards-Helaire gone. Jerick McKinnon is no longer there. Isaiah Pacheco, I think that second half of the season, he really turned it on, and he probably won a few people out here that's watching this video your league last year. So once again, go and invest into Isaiah Pacheco. You will be highly rewarded for your investment in him. Number 4, Kyler Murray. For some reason, it seemed like Kyler Murray has been getting forgotten about in all this fantasy talk, in my opinion. I believe he's still a dynamic player. He has very good weapons at his disposal in Arizona this season. They drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. They bring back Trey McBride. They bring back James Conner. They drafted the guy Michael Wilson last year, and he might be taking a second-year leap. I think it's plenty of opportunity here for Kyler Murray to bounce back and be among the, I wouldn't say upper echelon fantasy quarterbacks, but a very solid fantasy quarterback. Mobile quarterbacks win fantasy championships. And I think everyone is in your leagues are going to want to get their hands on, obviously, a Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, those type of guys. But I think if you want value, you can let somebody like Kyler Murray fall to you a round or two later or three later and snag him. So I think Kyler Murray is being slept on. And I think that if you can pick him up, he can help you win your league this season. My last player that you should draft if you want to win your fantasy league, Garrett Wilson, New York Jets wide receiver. So Wilson, I think out of all the wide receivers, he has the most potential for league winning upside if he can get a full season of decent quarterback play, which he should be able to with Aaron Rodgers. So he has the most targets ever among all wide receivers through their first 2 seasons. He's going to break out this season, and there's a chance Wilson finishes as the wide receiver 1. I think for sure he finishes as a top 5 wide receiver this season. And it's just the production has been so solid with subpar QB play. If Wilson could get just average quarterback play, not special or spectacular, average, he could be going to the moon. So I believe if you invest in Garrett Wilson with your first pick in your league or that first turn in the second round or whatever, you draft Garrett Wilson, it will pay off. It will pay off. Draft Garrett Wilson. So I will roll the dice with him over a guy like Puka if you're debating between a guy like Garrett Wilson or Puka, because clearly Garrett Wilson will see more targets because he's clearly the top option on his team. Puka is very good, very, very good, but it's still some debate about whether or not he's going to be the top option on his team. So while Puka has Kupp to battle with targets, it's clear that Garrett Wilson is going to be the top guy on his team, and he's going to be Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. So draft Garrett Wilson if you want to win your league. And just to take you back through the 5, I want you to draft. We gonna go back through these 5, and it's Isaiah Pacheco, Kyler Murray, George Pickens, Tank Dell, Garrett Wilson. Draft those 5 guys and win your fantasy league this year. So you come back to this video, you can say, Neek, I appreciate you giving me some fantasy advice. I appreciate you helping me win in my league, and I'm gonna say thank you. So draft those 5 guys if you want to win your league. Tank Dell, Isaiah Pacheco, George Pickens, Kyler Murray, Garrett Wilson. Appreciate y'all coming to the channel, tapping in. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button. Appreciate y'all.